Hello and welcome to the Gary Pascoe Show, sponsored by Your Instant Replay. Don't forget, if you want full football coverage or highlights, just get in touch with yourinstantreplay.co.uk. Their team will come straight to your game. They've got all the top equipment to film and you can get everything the same day. Also, if you want any tiling done, wall or floor tiling, extension, bathrooms, kitchens, get in touch with these guys, the specialist stone, marble and porcelain installers. They cover the southeast area. Give them a call on 07943 734 937 and get your free estimate. So tonight, who have we got on our show tonight? I've got the chairman of the Southern Combination Football League, Steve Nealgrove. Hi Steve, nice to meet you and thanks for coming.
Good evening, Gary. Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
No, you're welcome. So right, let's I'll just explain to the viewers or viewer a little bit about yourself, because being from the Southern Combination Football League, some people might not know what it's all about, so it'd be interesting to find out, especially for me as well, because I like to learn as well. So you started playing football in the Southern Combination Football League and the Sussex Sunday League, but injury brought a halt to your playing days. Then you went into the management. Great, that is, into management as a joint manager and coach for Withdean FC. And in 1990, you were elected to be on the committee of the Southern Combination Football League as competition chairman, and eventually went on to the chairman of the grounds committee. And finally, some 15 years ago, you were elected again, but this time as vice chairman for the Southern Combination Football League. And 6 years ago, you took over as chairman because sadly Peter Bentley had to stand down because of ill health. So you really have done an apprenticeship there, haven't you?
Yeah, it would seem it. When you look back, it doesn't seem like 30 years ago.
Wow.
It is. It really has flown by, and with all the things that have been going on with non-league over the last 15 odd years, with the changes coming, it has. It's gone by. It's been enjoyable.
Sure.
Difficult time sometimes when you think, why am I doing this? Because everybody is a volunteer,
Of course.
that's involved with running the league, and also volunteers involved with running the clubs.
But I must admit, I think you must know, being involved playing football, being a manager, and now on the committee, you must know what the teams and the players want, what you can give them for a league.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. We also have dialogue with the leagues, as clubs, rather, beg your pardon, which, they will always feed back to us, and we always listen, and where we can make changes to certain things we will do. Sometimes we're restricted because under the National League system umbrella, effectively the rules are governed by the FA and the National League system, so we can be, but there are other things that we look at that we can do, and we're always looking at innovation within the league, ways we can help save money, clubs money, and lifting the profile of the league. So we're open. We're not only open to criticism, we're open to listen to clubs, their views, and we always take them on board.
Yeah, because what made you become a volunteer, especially on the committee? Because listen, that ain't the best job at all, is it? Like you just said, I bet you get more complaints than you get a pat on the back.
Yeah, I think. It can, as I said, it can be challenging at times because we've got effectively 52 clubs within our structure, and within that structure, we have an under 23, most of them had sides, and under 18s. Decisions that we make, it's like in anything, any decision you make, you're going to please some people, and other people are not going to be particularly happy, but you do it for the majority and what you think at the time is the right decision. Yeah, we don't always get it right, but the important thing is, if we don't get it right, we'll hold our hand up and we'll look at something else and we'll go a different way. It's unlike being a politician in the whole country, but we are under the microscope, but I have this saying, I'm over 21, and it's my decision on whether I stay or whether I go. If it gets hot in the kitchen, but be brave, and if you make the decision and you get it wrong, and then we all like a pat on the back, we all like the kudos in anything we do, whether it's business or volunteers or whatever, so it can be tough at times, but hey, it's just as tough for people running clubs, volunteers, and they've had difficult times as well.
Sure. I bet you've seen a lot of changes in those 30 years when you first started. Yeah. No doubt about it.
Yeah. I mean, I think the changes started over 15 years ago when the FA and Mike Appleby, who passed away last year, who was the head of the sort of the non-league system of the FA, about bringing in the ground grading structure, was the first thing, was trying to get a level playing field of the different levels of football, that everybody had similar grounds, because there was each league at that time was responsible for its own gradings and standards, and ours differed to our neighbours in the combined counties. The Kent League is now the Southern Counties East, the Wessex League and around, and no doubt the Southern League and the Isthmian League also had different ground grading. And that was the start. It was originally, I always remember attending 2 meetings. One was at Southampton, the Hampshire FA, where Mike attended with all the leagues in that area, saying this is what we're going to do. This is it's going to take 5 years. I was realistic and said I think it's probably going to take a bit longer than that, and 10 years, Mike. I think, and so we're far down. It's still, whilst it's at a level, there's still changes that keep being made.
Of course.
But I think the changes were important, and I think that's one of the benefits. It was a bit of a shock to clubs that had to step up and carry out improvements. I mean, the Football Foundation, made grants available to sides. And when you look around grounds at the steps 5 and 6 now, you look at the grounds, they've improved, not only off the pitch, but their pitch maintenance as well. So it's been a great benefit. That came in as well, and then obviously then they talked about the restructuring of the leagues from steps 3 down to step 6. That's taken a little bit longer at steps 5 and 6, because there should have been a slight restructuring end of last season, but because of the early shutdown of the season, they deferred it to this season. Whether it'll happen this season, who knows? I'm not particularly in favour of it, because I know whilst they're carrying out a feasibility study at the FA, how can you promote sides who have only played, potentially some of them, 2 or 3 games, where our sides have played 10 games? So I think it's a little bit unfair in singling out sides for promotion when you're only a quarter away through the season.
Sure.
And that's a view. I think they could certainly look at, I think the lateral movement of sides is different to promotion. That's slightly different because they want to create an extra step 5 division, sort of the West Thames area, which the combined counties will take on. I think that might be achievable, but I'm not against sides being promoted, definitely not, and I'm definitely not against relegation. But I think, as frustrating it is for the guys up there who are working really, really hard behind the scenes, I think the promotion bit needs to be parked, in my view, and let's hope that we get some sort of normality back for next season.
100%. Have you got any new teams coming over yet, or?
No, I mean, they're decisions, not our decisions. They are the FA's now controls promotion and relegation and lateral movement, which was, years ago was down to individual clubs. Even internally, from our what is what was classed as Step 7 is now called the Regional Feeder Leagues, because we had one of them. Even promotion from that division to our Step 6 and Step 6 to our Step 5 within our own structure is actually down to the FA, not down to us.
Sure.
You know what, again, I think that's the right decision, because it's one body dealing with it across the country. There can be no arguments, and if clubs are unhappy about it, they can either appeal directly to the FA and not sort of be able to have a pop at us, but they still do.
Sure.
But you know, it's been a challenging time.
I must admit, I'm a real firm believer that I don't know why two teams do not go up in the combined counties, your league, the Kent League. I just cannot get my head around why two teams can't go up, only one team. It does my head in.
Yeah, it's the way that the structure of non-league football, from steps 1 down to step 6, it amazes me, because you have steps 1 and 2, what I affectionately still know as the conference, the National League. They seem to do what they want to do.
Well, they are at the moment.
And that's another story.
Yeah, there's another one.
And then you have steps 3 and 4, the Alliance Committee, or I think they've been nicknamed the Trident League or something.
That's it, the Trident League.
Which I keep waiting for the Neptune to come out of the sea, and which is quite amusing. And then you have us at steps 5 and 6 with the National League system, and you've got 3 sections within one sort of system, really.
Sure.
It was, rightly or wrongly, the Alliance decided they would relegate one side each, and one side would be promoted. It's a tough call. I like you think, why couldn't two be promoted from each league once they've sorted out the restructuring and got the natural pyramid?
It's a good time to do it, isn't it, as well?
Yeah. You know, never say never. It's a floating module that could bring change and pressure from steps 5 and 6 leagues. Could change that ultimately. But the Alliance League may not agree to it, and it's what it's about, really.
What about playoffs? Do you think your leagues could cope with playoffs?
Yeah, we as a league and our clubs are not actually keen on playoffs.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we like we do with these things. We actually go out and we speak to our clubs, and they say no, we're not interested. You know, they don't believe in it. As a majority, there'll be one or two other clubs that would. They feel that once the season's over, the season's over. You know, they don't feel that potentially a fourth place side could actually be promoted. They believe that they have got to that position over a course of a season. You know, being consistent rather than rely on one-off games. Okay. You know, we all know what can happen. We've seen it happen.
Of course, all the time. The reason I say it is because come like a big one, come February, and you're like, you can't get into the playoffs, say, their season's nearly over then. Yeah,
it can be, but you know, if you're a genuine amateur footballer playing at the levels that our clubs play at, you know, they still want to go out and get one over on you.
Yeah, it's good.
You know, it's their cup final. You know, it's very rare that a season. Never say never. It's very rare that a season is over by February. You know, we've had seasons go to the wire, the last games. You know, excuse me. But again, you know, we might go to our clubs in 2 years' time and say, you know, what's your views? What's your thoughts on this? What's your thoughts? You know, is it? But if it's handed down as a directive from the FA, then we would have to buy into that.
Sure.
They might do it. Might have a season at it, and they go, well, do you know what, actually it's not too bad, but it's a change that we're not used to. I know the steps 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 have been doing it for years, and they all like it, you know, but it's something that our clubs and we as a league are not used to, but never say never, Gary.
Sure, fair enough.
Yeah.
Obviously, the last 2 seasons have been horrendous. You know, the pandemic. So, how has the committee coped with it, and how has your members all coped with the last 2 seasons?
It's been a challenge. I think last season was worse. If I can put that into perspective, because there was I think the biggest problem has been is that nobody, including the FA, as much as people were pointing the finger and saying, the FA don't do this and they're rubbish at that, nobody could have predicted what was going to happen, that the season was going to be curtailed. And there wasn't a rule within the FA handbook that said, if a season is curtailed, you have to have played 70% of your fixtures. And because of that, their hands were tied. They couldn't invent a rule to bring it in and change it. And their hands were tied. Of course we're all frustrated. And well, hang about, we as a league had played 75% of our fixtures. Why can't, make a decision? But until you understand the mechanics, and it's all very well being outside on social media and why you can't do this, but you've got to have an understanding of the mechanics of how the Football Association run. Whether we agree or whether we don't is there, but there wasn't a rule. So that was difficult. That was really difficult for clubs, and of course we as a league had to ride that. We had to ride with that, our clubs, whilst they're very disappointed, I actually feel sorry for people in our Littlehampton town, for example, were flying with our Step 6 division. We're only really a game or 2 games away from being champions and being promoted. Right. On the flip side, Jersey Bulls in the combined counties had almost the same situation.
They were up.
They were, and the season was curtailed. So sympathy, but the flip side to that is the sides that were at bottom of leagues were more than happy that the season was null and voided. So, and then I think really this season we didn't know what to expect. We started.
You think you should have?
I think it was right. I'd honestly believe I think it was right to start.
Fair enough.
But there wasn't a rule in place. Having learnt from, is to say, right, if you play again, now this is with hindsight.
But that's the disappointing thing about it. I must admit, that is one disappointing thing I am about.
There wasn't, they didn't, through the FA Council, they didn't go to put a rule in place.
Sure.
I think we all thought, if we're all honest, that pandemic's gone. It's going.
Yeah.
I went on holiday last week in July and August and thought, oh, this is handy, and then come September, October time, it all started to get worse again. But it wasn't brought in, and then the changes, it stop, start. It really started to become frustrating for clubs because they started to think, is this going to happen again? And we've played even less games.
Yeah, exactly.
The FA, I mean, what they did, they sent out a questionnaire to all our clubs at steps 5 and 6, I mean, and asked them certain questions about null and void or the other things, and they'd done a very in-depth survey which we were produced with the results, and across the board the country at steps 5 and 6, and the majority of clubs said curtail, bring the season to an end, which was frustrating. But I mean, people like in the northwest counties had only, the clubs, some of them only played 3 games.
Oh yeah.
And so it's even worse situation than last year.
Of course.
So even if they'd set the bar, if they brought a rule in and set the bar at 70%, nobody would have reached it anyway. But at least there would have been a rule that said, So I think, it is frustrating, and as sort of Christmas would come and went, and we had regular, online meetings with the FA, which were very constructive, informative. I mean, sometimes they didn't have a lot to tell us, but they told us what they knew. which we and other leagues disseminated down to their clubs, it started to dwell on us a little bit, certainly me in February, and saying, do you know what, guys, I don't think we're going to get playing again. You know, when we will get back, I don't know, but let's start to try and plan things.
Yeah.
Can we run a supplementary cup or cups for if we get back, and what's the time scale? You know, there was certainly a time scale with league games. If we hadn't got back by, I think it was the beginning of March, there was absolutely no hope of finishing 70% or whatever.
Sure.
You know, even though a number had not been agreed with the FA of percentages. So we started to plan back in February that if we didn't, could we run a supplementary cup competition? And where we are now is we will be running 5.
We're going to come on to that later. Yeah. So, did any clubs from your leagues come to you and said, "Look, we're struggling here. We could go under here"?
Yeah, I think I was talking to somebody this morning about it that's had a lot of involvement in non-league football in Sussex at Isthmian League level, and I said to him that I think one of the benefits has been to the clubs is that wherever the money's come from, but the FA, the Foundation and Premier League and even the government have put their hand in their pocket and they've gone, there's a bit of money on the table for our level at grassroots and things like that. There were criterias, and rightly so, you know, for your rent, utilities, pitch maintenance,
sure.
You know, some of them important things, and some of our clubs were successful in getting grants, and there's been a few grants flying around that clubs have, you know, we've encouraged our clubs. We've got an FA consultant called Laura Smith that's attached to our league and other leagues, and they're around like a club consultant, what they call them.
All right.
And she advises us as a league what grants and what's coming available. She makes herself available for our clubs to contact her, and if there's a grant application form to fill in, Laura will help, and she's been very helpful. Brilliant. And you know, I say, we like to kick the FA, you know, when we want to, but I have to say, I think the grants have been a godsend to a lot of our clubs, but not a lot of them have been able to tap into some of them, but most clubs have. You know, we all we can do as a league is tell the clubs what grants are available, and at the end of the day, it's the old saying, you can take a horse to water but you can't make it drink. If they don't want to follow that process through, we're going to get a yes or a no, or you're not going to get 5,000, but you can have 2,500. You know, sure. So that's helped a lot. I you know, people say to us, "Oh, thanks very much what you do for the league," and you know, all these things. But you know, in the last, I suppose 18 months, you know, I have a lot of sort of long-term relationships with chairmen and secretaries, and having played, I've played in the game and under our league and whatever. You know, I take my hat off to them, because if they hadn't have kept their clubs going, I'm not saying that they're all out of the water, you know, yet, and I hope that we don't lose any clubs, but they've worked hard and tirelessly, and could have just quite simple have gone, oh, we can't do this anymore, you know, we're off.
Sure.
You know, so yeah, I've got a lot of time for our chairmen and secretaries of all clubs up and down the country, because it's been tough. Yeah, it's been tough for leagues, you know, but you know, hopefully, you know, come the beginning of August, we hope that we're all in a position where we can start the season, because the FA Vars is August the 7th, the extra preliminary. Our clubs like to play a game before that, so midweek game, because we can't play it because the previous Saturday's the 31st of July, so we can't play then, so they'll potentially have a game midweek on the Tuesday, get a game in on the league. And I hope that we're all up and down the country, that we're all at the starting line and ready to go, you know, and that's all we can look forward to. We you know, we have to plan for that.
Sure, of course.
We can't control what's happening outside, but let's just hope that we're in a much better place come the beginning of August.
Definitely. Oh yeah, 100%. Do you know, you've touched already about the restructure of the leagues. Do the committee from, like, do you speak to the Combined Counties Committee or the Kent League, or not the Kent League, I beg your pardon,
Southern Counties
County League? Do you speak to them as committees to just chat about how the restructure is going to go?
Yeah, I mean, I have a really good relationship with Chris Conlon, the chairman of the Combined Counties, and Denise Richmond, who is chair of of the Southern Counties.
First chair lady.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
And she's chair of the Kent County FA.
Yeah, superb.
And Denise is actually Step 5-6 FA Council representative for the whole of our level in the whole country, and we often. We probably have an online meeting every 3 weeks.
Do you really?
Yeah, just us three, just have a chat.
Brilliant.
We're neighbours, and it's important.
Yeah.
We'd like
That's
to.
why I asked. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if other leagues do it. We don't have much of a Nick, who's chairman at the Wessex League, but we talk. I think it's important. We're all in this together at the moment,
exactly,
and it's passing ideas. I talk to. We talk regular, and it might be before that, because it might just be a case of a phone call. Or what do you reckon on this? What have you got? What do you think about this? Or what have you done about this? Rather than the three of us meet for sort of 45 minutes, an hour, just to have a catch up. But
I think that's really good.
Yeah, relationships are important, because somebody sometimes has an idea that nobody else has thought of, and we can implement. We can do that.
Yeah, and I think that's brilliant, because going to the National League, they haven't really spoke to each other, or they haven't spoke to their teams, and it's good to have a conversation about different things anyway, isn't it?
Yeah,
I think so.
Yeah, it is. The old saying is, it's good to talk.
Definitely. So, where do you think the future of non-league of your step's going to end up? I don't know where it will end up. Hopefully, like you say, season comes back to normal and everything just jogs along as it used to.
I think once the restructuring is carried out and we have this natural pyramid, I think that's the start of the benefit for everybody. I'd like to think that there might be changes, tweaking on the way going forward, but I think once it's all settled down, all the clubs know, all the leagues know where things are, what's going to happen at the end of the season, and the natural flow and the relegation of clubs, and it can only be good for non-league football. I think where they want to get to, the FA, with this natural pyramid, I think is right. It's been a long time coming, and I think I can't see it progressing, developing from there, because it's that natural flow. And it's right. It's absolutely right that it goes ahead, and it's a firm foundation. As I say, it's taken a long time to get there.
Sure.
And I don't think we would, because we would be there now, but for the pandemic, and we'd have, it'd take a little bit of settling in. But no, I swear it's got a great part to play in helping clubs progress. My predecessor would always use Langley Sports, who are now Eastbourne Borough, that came to us from the East Sussex League, and Peter would always say they played on the roundabout in the middle of Eastbourne, and they effectively did, and that where they are, they were actually in the conference. Dorking Wanderers were a part of our...
Just mentioned Dorking Wanderers,
Mark White.
But you're glad to get rid of him.
Mark, he works tirelessly hard, Mark, and he's a lovely guy, and he is Mr. Dorking Wanderers. It was sad to see him go. I mean, where they played, when they came to us from the West Sussex League, and he's just worked hard. I think they established themselves in 1999.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, and again, Mark. Yeah, it's not an easy task. I mean, Mark is the self-proclaimed chairman and manager.
But was it good to get rid of him?
Was it good to get rid of him? Mark is one of them football characters, and it's a bit like Marmite. I like Mark. I like him.
I worked for him, so I'd like him.
Oh yeah, he's like that, Mark. And he's. He's got this grasshopper mind, as I call it. He jumps and flits around and things like that. And I just, he's achieved a lot. And where they now play. I mean, they were at West Humble, which he developed that with, a few of his helpers, quite a few of his helpers.
Yes.
And to what they've got now, it's hard work.
Yeah, but it shows you just said. It shows where you can get going. Yeah. You've got the likes of Haywards Heath in the next league up, Three Bridges in the next league up as well, and you can go through Worthy, no doubt. Yeah,
Worthing was a long time ago. Probably the more recent are the Haywards Heaths. We've obviously had sides that have gone up there and come back to Peacehaven, Crawley down Gatwick. But that just demonstrates how well the promotion and relegation system works now. Sure. Whereas many years ago, it was very rare that when I first joined the league, it was very rare because we used to feed into the Southern League, and but the whole structure then between certainly the Southern League and Isthmian, where you had Hastings in the Southern League on a Saturday would end up going to Merthyr Tydfil, but crossing Isthmian League sides territories, and out of the restructure, they've tidied that up, and which is great because that is a benefit, cuts down on the travel.
Sure.
But the pyramid system, I go back to what I said earlier, that perfect pyramid, it gives sides a chance to plot and plan their future.
Yeah,
and dream, which is the important thing.
And that's what it's all about, football, isn't it? Your dreams, definitely.
Yeah.
Right, getting back to some good news. You brought it up a little bit earlier. The league's running a cup competition. Is it true that 51 clubs out of 55 wanted to take part, or have I got that wrong?
No, that's not quite. I don't actually have the exact figures. There was 2 sides in our Step 7 that didn't want to enter the supplementary, and there were a couple sides in our Step 6 and a couple of sides in our Step 5. The majority of them, certainly in Step 5, said they would enter if spectators were allowed, and at the time we structured it, and we still are not sure at the moment, and that's something else we can come on to, but so for financial reasons they didn't feel that they would enter. But
so how's it going to work? Tell us how it's going to work then.
all the divisions are all the 3. Well, we got 5 competitions.
Right.
So we got a competition for the Premier Division, we got one for the Division 1, one for Division 2, one for our under 23s, and one for our under 18s.
Wow.
So what we've done is, initially, to keep costs down, we've put them into groups.
Yep.
And how we've decided on the groups is by geographical.
Okay.
So first and foremost is to keep costs down.
Yep.
Travel costs.
Of course. Yeah.
Secondly, if spectators are allowed in at any point soon,
there'd be derbies.
Effectively, yeah. So we would like to think that obviously restrictions might apply, numbers, but it would attract people to go and watch because they're local games. So the Premier Division, our sides are going to play a couple of times, are going to play each other twice. Division 1, there's enough, they just play once.
Okay.
And so does in our Division 2 and under 23s, under 18s. So then it goes, so that's a group stage league. So the winners from each group will go into a semi-final, which is a straight knockout.
Right.
And then we'll have the finals.
Brilliant.
We've scheduled the semi-finals week commencing the 3rd of May, and we scheduled the finals week commencing the 17th of May.
Right.
Now, at the moment, that's the trigger date when spectators are supposed to be allowed back into sports venues.
Right, yeah.
That's what the government are saying.
Sure.
So, and that's where we are. So everything is structured like for that, because we obviously spoke to your instant replay about the potential of live streaming our semi-finals, or certainly some of them, if there's no spectators allowed. We've used your instant replay before for filming our cup finals, which went down really, really well. So we're planning, and
I don't know who they are actually. Your instant replay. But so they're going to play on a Tuesday and a Saturday, will they?
Yeah, that's the plan. Apart from our Division 2, because we've got 4 sides who have got floodlights, so there will be some midweek games there, but the other majority will be on a Saturday. And then it's we'll see how it goes.
But it'd be lovely if spectators could come. So what is the situation with the spectators then? I know that's $1 million question.
Well, it is. Yesterday we received that from the FA.
Okay.
A 13-page document. Okay. Which is the roadmap out of sport, etc.
Yeah.
Okay, and it goes on about grassroots and guidance for the public and sport, etc. And you read that, and it still reads as though it's going to be the 17th of May.
Sure.
And then later, within that, there were links, which takes you to this document from the FA.
Right.
A 25-page document. And in here, and I have emailed this afternoon the National League system for clarification, because it was brought before I saw this yesterday. Ollie Bayliss,
Top man.
he actually tweeted that document.
I see that,
yeah. And under step 2 of that document, which is the 12th of April,
yes,
I'll just truncate this. Socially distanced spectators permitted,
yes,
in accordance with government guidelines. Changing rooms can be used following strict COVID-19 protocols.
yeah.
Outdoor food and drink allowed following rule of 6 or 2 households. So we've interpreted that, and same as other people who have seen Ollie's tweet, is that spectators at our level are going to be allowed in from the 12th of April. That's how we read it.
Wow.
Yeah?
Yep.
So there's still some confusion. So I've, this afternoon before I came here, emailed the FA and said, can you clarify what is in your document, because it conflicts with the latest information on the roadmap out. So we wait for a response.
Well, that'd be interesting.
It'd be fantastic if we can have spectators in the club's grounds up and down the country at steps 5 and 6, because it would be much needed income. Yes, it would be a little bit like if it's the tier system.
Yeah.
You can let a 30% of your capacity in.
Yeah.
And put a smile on people's faces.
Yeah, it'd be brilliant.
And we wait for the answer. I might well have an answer already.
Yeah.
I don't know, but until I check my emails.
Sure.
But I don't want to hang our coat on it.
No, of course.
And get too confident, because it will be disappointing if they come back. But if you read that step 2 as it reads to me and to my committee members, and say people up and down the country, the question is, so are spectators at 5 and 6 allowed in from the 12th of April?
I hope they are for you, maybe, because I'll be coming and watching some games for you.
Well, they'd be more than welcome.
Thank you. Well, thanks very much for your time. I really enjoyed chatting with you today, and thanks for coming along, because you definitely opened my eyes, and it's great to speak to people on the committee. I don't know many committee people, but it's great talking to you guys, because you do work. You work hard, and like we said earlier at the beginning, you don't get many pats on the back. So very much, Steve. Thanks very much for coming in, and really nice to meet you,
Gary. It's been a pleasure and very informative. And next time there's an opportunity, more than happy to come along and discuss what we do.
You're more than welcome to come along next time. No worries.
Gary, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Well, thanks very much for listening to the Gary Pascoe Show. Keep an eye out for more shows on their way, and it's good afternoon for me. Thanks very much for listening.